Hey everybody, Bernie Gallerani bringing you another episode of Success is Not Convenient. And I have a fun guest with us today talking about starting up a new business. So this is going to be fun. So Derek, thank you for joining me because I know you're in the process of building your company. You're young and you're working on like what it takes in order to achieve what you've dreamed of achieving, right? So thank you again for joining us, and hopefully all you guys will learn a lot from the challenges of this. So tell us a little bit about the business you're building.
Yeah, absolutely. So the current company I'm building is an accountability and habit-based coaching company for faith-based professionals. So for those that struggle with building discipline into their daily lives, or those that struggle with building out a routine, and I typically tell people that we serve entrepreneurs, so those that have an entrepreneurial mindset within a business, so they might not work in a typical 9 to 5, but it has a little bit more flexibility, autonomy. So think of salespeople, real estate agents and brokers, mortgage brokers, insurance agents, people that just don't have a regular 9 to 5 and are looking for that additional discipline. So we help them with time management, productivity, habit breaking, and helping them build up holy habits primarily as well too.
So interesting. So you're really, because you talked about a habit forming kind of. So your goal then is to find people of faith, correct?
Yes.
And then you're coaching them through their spiritual journey and in addition to their life journey, work journey, everything like that, right?
Yeah, so the whole process is understanding how do we coach the whole being of a person? Because, there's not just a work element, there's a personal element in understanding faith, finances, fitness, family. So it really encompasses the whole person, how we coach people, because typically if somebody's struggling with habits in their life, it's not just their personal life, but it's also their professional life as well too.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I know it's this is a new venture for you, right? And what I love about Derek, and which is why I wanted to have him on, is you kind of burned the boats with your last job. And because you really thought that this was something that you felt that would be a great thing for you, and that you wanted to build your life in helping people, which of course I really appreciate. So what's your background then before you decided, because taking the leap from quitting your job that you made a nice living at doing, giving it all up, and starting from zero, a lot of people wouldn't do what you did or have done or are doing now. Talk a little bit, let's go back a little bit of why you decided from where you were and the security that you had. You had a job that was paying you X amount of money and you were used to that job, and you've basically said, I'm done. I love you all, but I'm moving away and I'm starting something where I'm going to make no money right now and I'm going to burn the boats. Walk us through that mental struggle.
Yeah, it's an interesting observation, even looking back on it and understanding the place that I had to get to mentally, because it was probably one of the toughest personal struggles I had of making the leap, going from a W-2 job back into self-employment, because I've made the jump before and it was a lot easier for me in the past to make the jump because I have a pretty high risk tolerance as well too. And typically I tell people I always try to be obedient to where the Lord guides me and not just where I want to go or where other people want me to be. And so there was a lot of prayer that went into it as well too, to understand what is the timing of this jump and when does it need to happen, because the one main thing I was looking at was what fear would hold me back from making this decision in the time that I needed to make it and when he was calling me to make that jump. So I got to a point where I was very comfortable with the salary that I was making. I was very good at the role that I did. And so I knew that once I got the structure and foundation of the company built, there was going to be a point that I got to where all the limiting beliefs that come into our heads just as humans that are fallible and we fail and, struggle all the time, of saying, am I going to let the enemy creep in here and stop me from jumping into what God is creating me to do? Or am I going to sit back in the comfort that he wants me to sit in? Because he knows if I sit back in the comfort, I'm actually not going to operate with the gifts and skills that he blessed me with to go out and create for other people. Because I think as humans, we're also created to go out and create as well too. And if the Lord calls you to go build something, it's really smart to jump into that as quick as possible and when he calls you to. Because the longer you wait, that means that there's somebody else out there that you're supposed to be impacting that you're not right now. And that means they're not able to get to where they need to be in life because of the decision you made to stay in comfort. So,
wow, gosh. What's interesting though is you had a calling from the Lord to build this business, which I think a lot of people can resonate, saying they have this feeling and they feel like this is calling, or maybe they don't even know what the feeling is for them, but still doing it. I'm sure there was some fear, right? 'Cause you're very strong in faith. And just to let you know, Derek is soon to be my son-in-law, which I'm super proud of he's getting ready to marry my daughter Kylie, and so his story is inspiring. Goes really deep, which we won't go completely in this video today, but it's fun. And I thought his story is great because he's truly an entrepreneurial mind, somebody that had security in a job, and then burned the boats, had the calling, but yet you had the calling as many people do. Mm-hmm. What fears did you have to make the decision? And then what fears do you still have walking through it?
So initially, the fears I had with this were the first fears I had ever had before like this before, where it's the first time I've ever been put in my life where I started thinking about the future of the family that the Lord is about to bless me with, getting married soon, going through the season of engagement, wedding planning, all the things and all the blessings he's put in front of me. But it's the first time I've ever really had to think about somebody else in my decision-making process when it came to a business, because there's been other times where maybe I had $10 left in my account or maybe 1 month worth of expense. I'm like, well, I know the Lord's calling me to this, so I'm burning the boats and I'll go make it happen because I know I work really well when my back's against the wall. This time, I knew your daughter and Kylie, I'm sitting here, I'm like, while I'm not married yet, I know I'm preparing my mind and my heart for my vocation of marriage and to have kids whenever you bless me with that ability. And I need to also think about that, even though it's not here now, but with my mind being a little futuristic, I want to be able to plan for that as well and make sure I put myself not in a safe position, but also take risk in a calculated manner, because that was a new term to me. I just jumped without a parachute and I was like, I'll figure it out on the way down. Where this time I actually just think, maybe I should try to build the parachute a little bit, but the Lord was pushing me. And I was like, Derek's comfort wanted to build something beforehand and have a little bit of a safety blanket. And he was like, no, I'm going to take care of you because I've called you to this. So there was a radical trust that he actually called me to right when I started building, saying, have I not protected you before? Have I not taken care of you before? You just need to trust that this is where I'm calling you and I'm going to take care of you and your family.
Dude, that's so big. So you had the calling, but yet you still took the risk, right? You still took the risk. And you talk about this, you're having these conversations with Kylie about this risk that you're taking, but yet you just left. You're getting married. Yep. You had a job. That job paid you. Yeah. And you still quit your job. Mm-hmm. And you lived in a different state. Now, obviously, you're living in our state now, which is great, and it's a blessing to us. Do you know it'll work?
In my heart, yeah. There's doubts and fears that I think any human being, I'd probably be sitting here and lying to you if I said without a, doubt in my mind that, but because of the conviction I've had from the Lord and the calling that he put onto this, it can't fail. But again, as humans, there's still little doubts that will creep in your mind of saying, maybe you have a down week or a down couple weeks or a down month even. It's like, man, this has been a struggle bus. But I always remind myself, why are you doing this in the first place? Because he called you to it, because you have specific gifts, you have a specific skill set he's blessed you with, and you've put in the time, you've put in the effort, and he put you here for this exact moment in time. It can't fail. And even if it did, there's something that he wants to teach me through that, which I don't necessarily consider failure. I see it as an opportunity to learn and understand what is he going to call me into next with what he taught me through this. So I think it all just came down to the actual mindset shift of it can't fail because he blessed it and he put it in front of me.
Well, too, and you're a really confident, positive person where a lot of people there's a lot of people that have a lot of self-doubt. Sure. Right? Yeah. And I think that the message I always have, Derek, is how do we get people to understand that they're more empowered, which you're an unusual person that you feel fully empowered, and you're going to give a lot of that support to the Lord, right? Because that's where you get your calling from. Yep. But was your family dynamic or your background? Let's talk a little bit about how you were raised. Did you have, because your dad, I believe, was self-employed. Yep. Correct? Big business, small business. What was his business like?
He ran a pretty big plumbing company for a while. He had 20 or 30 guys under him for a lot of years. I didn't see a lot of that, the building of it growing up. I just kind of saw the fruits of his labor come through. But I knew he was doing well, and he always prioritized his family. That's where I got a lot of my work ethic from as well, of doing plumbing with him and a lot of the summers when I was growing up. So I'm very grateful. That's where a lot of my work ethic came from. And I found out I didn't want to do any plumbing growing up, but I'm grateful for how he provided for our family. Yeah. And then I saw it from my mom as well, too, because she had specific skills in the esthetician field and did skincare, and so she opened up her own day spa. And so I saw both my parents have an entrepreneurial bone in their body. And it didn't really click with me until I got to college and saw myself, and one of my first businesses I ran was an illegal panini business through my dorm room. And that was like the first time I ever saw the ability to see, here's a specific problem. I found a solution for it. I created a Disney World class experience with it as a freshman in college. I almost got kicked out of school for it. And I saw people yearning for it. I said, how can I do this with what the Lord has given me and my specific gifts and everything with something I love doing?
What does this mean, an illegal panini business?
So unfortunately, there's specific health code regulations that we may not have been abiding by in our 10 by 10 jail cell of a freshman dorm room. So was it on the up and up? Not necessarily from a legal standpoint. But from a formative LLC, hey, we were doing everything by the book.
So that you're saying that the health department probably would not have approved.
We would have been shut down immediately. So,
but hey, you tried it, and so would you say that you had a level of success with that illegal panini business?
100%. If we wouldn't have gotten shut down, or if I wouldn't have got a threatening email to be kicked out of my fall semester of my freshman year, I'd be running a panini empire currently, and we've definitely would have grown to like 10 to 20 employees by now. But yeah, that was like my first taste of it, seeing it from my parents, but also seeing the failure from it as well too, which I noticed more as I got older. And actually, like the mindset shift I had to let happen, because I think one thing a lot of people don't recognize is that there are like generational wounds and mindset pieces that get passed down from generations before us, whether it's grandparents, parents, etc. And we actually don't know why sometimes we make the decisions or have the mindset shifts that we do. Because I saw my mom's business fail in the crash in '08, where a lot of people had success in the crash in '08 as well too. And it just really came down to the mindset shift with that. And I could have said, well, and I did for a little bit, am I going to let the fact that I saw a business fail within my family, or what my parents may think about entrepreneurship now? Because I love my parents. They've always supported me in my business, but they always encouraged me to not be an entrepreneur. And I thought it was always intriguing.
Why is that? Is it because they had a lot of pain in the failing business that your mom had? Did your dad have that similar experience within his plumbing business? Or did he have as your mom struggled with hers? And I think it was from like the '08 crash, right? Yeah. Which a lot of people lost businesses and honestly lost hope and got discouraged through what happened in '08. I think you had, and here's the thing I think everyone needs to understand about the '08 crisis is it took the best entrepreneurial people and these business owners, and it crushed their spirit and created fear, and then they never recovered. Was that something that your mom had in her business?
Yeah, so my mom got crushed by it, and her mindset did as well too, and she never really recovered from it. And unfortunately, almost kind of fell victim to that mindset that plagued her in '08, because again, in that point in time, people weren't spending money on what they may have considered a luxury service like facials, massage, spa treatments. And while that was her love and passion, I saw her crippled by the fear of getting started in that, because it was a really hard crash for her. And so I saw her fear of failure try to be propelled onto me when I would go start something, especially something she may not understand, whether it was property management that I was doing or coaching or like an online business that may have been new to her, and she didn't necessarily like what the day-to-day looked like, because she was used to going into a physical place and doing work. Whereas for me, I was making money online or convincing people to buy my services where I was helping them, and it was hard for her to understand that. But the one thing she had shared with me, which we kind of had the breakthrough in the relationship at this point, was she said, I just don't want to see my son fail. And I told her, I was like, for me to actually be successful, I have to go through this failure to get to where I need to be. And while I love you, and I love that you don't want to see me fail, and you don't want me to see me eating rice and beans or living out of my car, this is what I actually have to go through to be the man that God's calling me to be. And I know that's a hard thing for you to hear as my mom, and I'm trying to put myself in your shoes because I'm not a parent yet, so I don't know the pain you're experiencing. But just know, because I love you, I have to do this, because this is how I'm going to provide for you in the future as well.
That's so strong. So I think it's the commitment to eating the rice and beans that makes the person who they are, that there says, I'm willing to sacrifice all. What you've already put your stake and claim into, I believe this will work because I quit my good paying job for something that I feel very passionate to accomplish. So where does now, I know we've had a conversation off camera that your mom hasn't been the most encouraging to your entrepreneurial direction. Do you find, is that hard for you to, obviously we all want everyone's support.
Correct. Yeah.
What are you learning as you're starting your business? And I know you're having some levels of success here, or you wouldn't be sitting in this chair. But what are you finding is the hardest part about your parents maybe not fully supporting you? And how about your dad? How does your dad feel about it? Because I didn't ask you that question.
He's definitely supportive of it. And one of the questions he always asks me, he's like, do you have enough work to keep you busy? So he more so from like a logistical standpoint may not understand how I get clients or how online businesses may work. And so he asks more logistical questions because, again, for him, he just wants to see like, oh, I see it work and I see the fruits of it. And he trusts me in my ability to build as well too, and knows that I wouldn't just be doing this for the sake of doing it. I only do things that I'm called to do by the Lord, because that's my main source and foundation. And so, and with my mom as well too, for her, she just wants to know always that I'm good financially. And I told him like, hey, there's gonna be some months that are great, and there's gonna be other ones where things aren't looking so hot. And there's gonna be the ebbs and flows of it until a consistent foundation is built. And even then, nothing is for certain. But again, with a W-2 job, nothing is for certain. The amount of people I talk to that are getting laid off right now due to AI, or lost their job that they thought they were gonna make in a pretty six figures for the rest of their life. And it's like, I actually think entrepreneurship is one of the safest avenues, because I have the greatest confidence in myself and where the Lord guided me, that I'm going to trust in that over somebody else that is dictating where my time and freedom is going.
Well, what I'm hearing you say, and I think that it's so powerful people to listen to, and that is your certainty is in you, right? You're putting all your stock in your ability, and what you know is it doesn't matter what everyone else struggles with. I know that my certainty is in how I work and how I perform, and I'm willing to eat beans and rice, and I'm willing to understand that not every week or month or even year is going to be great.
Yeah.
Right. And I've learned, even with the businesses that I've had and talking with the people that I know that run businesses, sometimes they'll say, hey, listen, I lost 300,000 last year, or I lost 200,000. Now there's some people watching this going, wait a minute, they lost 200,000 or 300,000. Yeah, but they may have lost 200,000 in their business last year, but they made $1.5 million in it the year before that, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, well, how does that work? And being an entrepreneur is the ups and downs. I don't care how successful any entrepreneur is; they're going to have really good times, right? I think it was January and February in the real estate industry, I lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I tell people like, yeah, it wasn't really great. 60 days I lost, let's call it up in the six figures. You as an entrepreneur, you start realizing that not every week you make money, and not every month you make money, and not every quarter you make money, right? Not every year you make money.
Sure.
It all balances out in the end. And the pride of building something and being an entrepreneur is the key. So how do you deal then with your family? Where do you think, because they don't, I guess what I'm hearing you say is they don't have to understand, because God gave you the vision, didn't give them the vision, right? And I learned this. It says, listen, the dream, you don't have to get my dream, because the dream wasn't given to you. It was given to me. Yeah. So if we're an entrepreneur, we have an idea, and somebody brings us down. I'm going to tell you an interesting story. I don't know if I've said this on camera before, but I'll tell you because I think it's interesting. So I had a guy that worked with me years and years and years ago. Let's just call it 18, 19 years ago. He was a young guy out of college, graduated. His name's John. And he came to work in the county in which we live, and he decided he was going to get a real estate license and work kind of part-time with me, and he worked in a fulfillment center for Amazon down in Portland. And he came to me one day, and he goes, dude, you're not going to believe this. He goes, I had this amazing idea. And I said, oh, okay, tell me. So he then shares the idea with me, okay? Now, Derek, I got to be honest with you. I thought it was about as dumb as all get out. I mean, I'm literally listening to this going, dude, I wouldn't put my money in that. And I wouldn't put another thought into that idea. And so I was really negative, right? I got to be honest with you. I was not supportive. Yeah. And he called me a friend, and I called him a friend, and I thought he was sharing his idea with me, and I thought my job was to tell him, run the other way. And he just kept bringing it up. And I'm like, John, I don't get it, man. I said, I don't see why you're so passionate about this. Well, let me fast forward. So John worked with me for a short time, let's just call it 2 years. And then he decided to move back to South Carolina, which is where his family was from. And he's calling me, and I have no idea after I was so negative why he would continue to keep me my friend. But he came in, let me tell you what's going on, man. He goes, I met this billionaire, and I pitched him my idea. And the billionaire's like, wow, that's pretty interesting. And why don't you put down a business plan and let me look at it, and maybe I can help fund it. And I'm like, oh gosh, like I can't believe this is the dumbest idea ever, right? By the way, it wasn't a dumb idea; it was actually pretty brilliant. But That was my thought process. So make a long story short, he wrote these business plans, and the first time he went to wrote the business plan for the billionaire guy, he's like, oh no, that's not good enough, go rewrite it. Oh, that's not good enough, go rewrite it. No, that's not good enough, go rewrite it. So he had to write this business plan 5 times. So over a course of months. And finally at the end, the guy says, boy, you really want this business, don't you? And he goes, yes. And he goes, you know what's interesting, John? He says, the first business plan I read was brilliant. He says, but I said no to you, go rewrite it because I wanted to see how bad you wanted it. Let's fast forward. They did the business. He had it about 5 years. He worked his tail off, and he sold the business for $14 million. And now he's wealthy and never has to work again a day in his life if he doesn't want to. So what I'm saying is I didn't get the dream. He did. Yeah. And thank God he didn't listen to me because it wasn't my dream to be fulfilled. It was his. And so what I love about you is that your family may not be fully supportive and maybe fearful for you, but God didn't give your parents that for you. God gave you that for you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if anybody else buys into it or not, because it's your dream.
And granted, while the people that you love and that you want to support you, while it can be a critical and important piece to feel that support from them as well. But again, my obedience is to the one that created me. And it's like, that's really the only person that you have to obey and understand, like, what does he put in front of me? And I think, too, for me, taking it back and understand why I have so much confidence in what he shared with me is that when I had my previous coaching company that was very successful, once I started in COVID, people looked at me like I was nuts. They're like, you're starting a business during COVID. Why would you do that? It's like, one, because the Lord guided me to it. So I didn't just start it for the sake of starting it. And he blessed it in great abundance. But the thing about it is I made it all about myself. It was everything that Derek did. It was my pride. It was my ego. And I started running off in. I used faith as a selling point. The Lord did not like that. And I remember in prayer one day, I heard him saying, and he took away every single client that I had. I went from just a very successful business to $0 overnight. And he told me, when you're able to redirect this focus in this business on me again, I will bring you back into coaching, because this is what I created you for. I created you to motivate and inspire other people to become the best version of themselves that I designed them to be, not you. So when you can recenter this on me,
that's big.
Then I'll bring you back into it. Then he takes me through formation, deeper ministry, deeper relationship with him, introduce me to a spiritual director. I go through that journey over the course of 4 years and get back to a point. He's like, well done, faithful servant. I'm going to bring you back into this now and watch what I do with it. I'm in control now, not you.
So that's so powerful. So what's the biggest challenge you think you deal with now with building the business?
You know, for me, there's definitely pieces where, you know, there is a support that I still crave, you know, obviously from loved ones and especially family as well, too, because, you know, you want to make your parents proud. You want them to show that all the work that you're putting in is, you know, coming to fruition as well, too. So definitely those small mental struggles are the biggest one. There's nothing from a physical standpoint that is going to limit me from building what God wants me to build, but it really just came down to the mindset, because I had to go from, and I was just having a conversation with one of my clients about this earlier, of understanding I used to be a business owner. And I don't think I ever actually really tapped into being an entrepreneur and like the CEO of a company. And so for me, I really feel that strong calling now of where the Lord doesn't just want me to just build this around me. He wants me to be able to scale it. He wants me to be able to create a coaching company where I could reach so many of my brothers and sisters in Christ throughout the world. And it just isn't stunted at me and having coaches under me and having employees under me. So removing myself from it and saying, what was the mindset and limiting belief I had that said, no, you could only build with yourself here and nobody else? Because I used to have the mindset of saying, well, if I grow outside of me, then the coaching, it loses its value. Or if I go away from one-on-one and go into group coaching to grow, then it loses its value. But that was a limiting belief that I told myself for so long, because I was fearful of the ceiling I had to break through to get to that next level. Whereas now the Lord is already breaking through all those things and showing me the potential of what he's put in front of me, saying, these are the people I'm introducing you to. These are the doors I'm asking you to walk through, the people I need to make intros to you so that you could set up the foundation now. So in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10, when I call you to do this as your full-time job, your entire life, I want you to have this solid foundation set up that's rooted in me, not yourself. And so you're able to scale just like that.
Yeah, and your faith in God is so strong that you lean on that, which gives you the strength to doesn't matter how you feel. It's like if God gives you that comfort, you're like, listen, I understand it's a risk, but I know where I'm going, right? And like I said, I know you well enough to know your story that when you make a decision, regardless of what anybody else thinks, you're like, okay, I'm just going to be patient, but I know this is supposed to be right? Which is cool. So what do you think is your biggest challenge then when in the clients that you're serving right now? what is your biggest frustration maybe in the people you coach? Maybe we can just say a behavioral process and what they're not doing and how you recognize them to be better or you to be better or be patient with them.
Yeah, it's a great question because the last time I had a coaching business, I focused on people that looked like me. I focused on entrepreneurs that had success, people that were high performers, growth-minded, easy to coach. They just needed a little help getting from point A to point B and a little accountability.
Yeah.
This time, the people that the Lord has put in front of me are people that are the complete opposite of me. And so I've had to really tap into my skill set and tool belt as a coach to grow in that aspect, to understand these are people with different temperaments, different backgrounds, struggles that I've never had before, or anxieties or certain things that they may deal with that I've never experienced. And it's even hard for me to be empathetic and put myself in their shoes, but it's asking for the grace from the Lord. I'm like, Lord, I have no idea how to coach your son or daughter that you put in front of me today. And I just ask that whatever words you need me to share and actions that I need to portray, that it comes from you.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a mentor share with me one time. He's like, if you're struggling with people that don't look like you and you're really trying to figure out how to coach them, call upon their specific guardian angel to actually ask, what do they need in this moment? And you're going to get the grace and guidance to help them grow through that.
Out of the people you talk to and their lack of moving forward, how much of that is fear-based?
If I was to come up with a stat around it, I would call it 90 to 95% of it. Majority of it is because if you look at what somebody has between their ears and their head and their mindset, that's the main battle that's really the main one that everybody focuses on and they struggle with, is that fear of, man, what if this doesn't go right though? They ask the wrong questions when it comes to that fear-based thinking. It's like, man, what if this does fail? Or what if this doesn't happen the way that I want it to go? And I ask, what happens if it wildly just goes right and it is successful? Your entire life changes overnight.
Yeah.
So you could keep thinking in this pessimistic view and thinking, this could happen or that could happen. You could think, this could happen and my entire life changes. Your family's life, generations after you changes. So it's that small tweak that a lot of people have to make as well and just work through a lot of the wounds that they've gone through, because it all comes from a place in their past where they were hurt and somebody did something to them, or an experience that their parents had and it was passed along to them. So it's all just the fear, like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Or,
But you said it was like 90% of the people feel that way,
100%.
right? And that's the same experience that I've had in my experiences with coaching and training people is, and I've said this in all these videos that I've done in the past, and it's that 100% of them can be successful, but very few of them actually will be successful. So what's the difference? And it really is the belief system that they have within themselves, and are they willing to then take we talk about the word risk, right? Like, well, they have to take a risk. But is it really risk, or is it just identifying that the behaviors you have right now just aren't working for you in your favor, and that you have to change those behaviors, and then that's risk?
Yeah.
Like changing a conditional behavior is the risk, right? Would you agree with that?
100%. And I also think with it as well that there's this delayed gratification that doesn't exist in our society right now that needs to, because people they want to get to that place of success like this and overnight, or they think they look at you and what you built. Oh, he probably did that overnight. But if anybody knows your story and looks at what you've done, and anybody listening to this knows that, I mean, you struggled for a while to get to this point, and once you build up, people just see what you have right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't willing to suffer long enough to get there, because it really just comes down to people that aren't willing to quit. Like
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like, who's willing to eat dirt the longest? Because guess what? Anybody can be successful if they're willing to wait it out. So that's why, like, enjoying the actual, not destination, but the process of getting there and the ebbs and flows that come with getting to that point. It's like when you get here, it's just, yeah, this is cool, but actually the process of getting here was the fun part.
Yeah. I totally believe exactly what you said, in that I told Kylie years and years ago, and she was upset about the struggles of the real estate business. And so I had said, Kylie, let me ask you, why do you feel it should be any easier for you than any other person who's tried this? Yeah. And so there's been a lot of tears that have been shed from a lot of people, a lot of frustrations, a lot of anger, a lot of disappointment that every single person has to go through. Yeah. People like you and me might be more resilient to understand disappointment, but our persistence and our ability to keep going next, like we're just banging our head against a wall going, yeah, that's not going to bother me and bring me down. But a lot of people, as we said, that 90% or so, where it paralyzes them, failure paralyzes people, and they think, well, it's just not in my cards. Yeah. I believe it's in everybody's cards, right? I just, and I don't know, like in my background, I didn't have a lot of positive influences in that regard. So I don't know where that came from, to be honest with you. Like people are like, well, I've been asked the question, like, how did you develop this strong mindset? Probably books, and probably that I was sick and tired of being broke, right? And I was willing to say, what else? I was having, you were there. We were at breakfast this morning with our Friday group, and I'm like, listen, when you're on the bottom, there's not a lot of places to fall, right? So all you can do is climb out, because you're already standing at the bottom of the barrel, and you're like, okay, it doesn't, if I fall, I'm falling, a foot, right? Versus being at the top and then losing it all, which when you don't have anything, there's not much to lose. Yeah. So do you find that with coaching these people, are you looking for small growth? Like, do you just try to get small accomplishments made by them? And then have them measure that growth? How do you try to measure people's level of success?
Yeah, for me, it all comes down to these small, consistent daily habits that we work on. Because if I could get somebody to focus on, I have a client right now that I'm holding accountable to brushing his teeth and flossing his teeth. Like to the point, like this small of action, because it's been something that's inconsistent. I'm like, somebody may see that. I'm like, well, how's that helping him grow in his business or in his career? I'm like, well, the fact that he doesn't get gingivitis and doesn't have to shell out a dental bill for it is that. And he actually shared that with me. And I thought it was kind of funny and comical. But at the end of the day, it's a very real thing, the small things that hold people back. So again, it comes down to, if I could get somebody to do these things in a very small habitual way where they fall in love with this process and they just show up each and every day. Because I tell them the first month of this, the first 30 days is going to be so elementary. You're going to look at me and think I'm nuts for what I'm asking you to do. Because I'm asking you, make a small change to your sleep schedule where you go to bed 15 minutes earlier and you wake up 15 minutes earlier. You're going to look at how is this going to help me get to the 2 to 3 hour span that I'm trying to make up here. I'm like, well, in 3 months down the road, when you build such a strong foundation that's built on solid rock and not sand, you're like, oh, I could see how that made sense. And it clicks for everybody at that point.
Yeah, I love that. Small gains, right? I just shot something recently. We talked about like just the small little gains. Mike Ferry shared with me years and years ago. He's like, listen, you're going to have small gains. And then at some point you look back and you connect the dots and go, man, I was here and now I'm here. Yeah. Right. And you're like, well, I did have growth. Yeah. Having small gains is really the key to getting somebody to see that they grow. And when they can see that they can grow, when they connect the dots backwards, you go, wait a minute, I was here. Sometimes they don't realize how far they move forward, right? Like that's how painful the process is. If you put your head down and you just focus in on your goal and just keep it down and just keep staying true to your word, being honest with yourself, and look back at some point and go, wow, I can't believe I went from here to there.
People think you need to do astronomical tasks and to get success, but it really comes down to the person that wants to do the boring and the mundane tasks more consistently and more often. Yeah. And similar to probably quarterly reviews that you run here, we do the same thing for coaching clients, because somebody could say, well, I'm just not really seeing results. And then I'll go back and look at all the things they accomplished in the last 3 months that they just lost sight of because they were boring and mundane tasks. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bed 3 hours earlier. I've been working out every single day, or I'm making X in my business now. And it's like, yeah, just because they didn't have the ability to see it because they were in the thickness of it, in the weeds, but once they got out of it, they saw it.
Yeah, it's cool. And I love about this conversation. And it goes deep, guys, into everything that we always talk about, which is what I thought would be a great value for you guys hearing Derek, and that we can all change. It's just a process of making a commitment and then staying true to your word. What's the website they can come check your website out? Do you have a website?
Yeah, beyondtheveilcoaching.com.
So I love that.
Yeah, so anybody could go there and check out what we do and how we coach.
We'll put that up on the screen. And so I want to say thank you for this. There's always deep topics, and we'll have you back too, because I'd love to just keep working on your journey and how you've been successful, just to let people know and being raw and truthful about the challenges versus the success, right? Because you're going to have a lot more challenges sometimes than success. So absolutely. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity here, and thank you for listening, and thank you, Derek, for being a guest on our podcast. And if you guys have any questions or have any topics, please let us know. We'd love to share those with you, and I hope everybody has a great day.